Hi everybody, my notes are all over the place, but I'll get them together very quickly for you because today we have a very special video by an incredible operatic singer and theatrical singer as well. He's Jonathan Antoine, we all know him from Britain's Got Talent, and it's Empty Chairs at Empty Tables from Les Miserables. So I'm going straight into all of this. There is a description of Jonathan, his links in the description attached to this video, and I know that a lot more people are jumping on board the Jonathan Antoine gravy train, and I call it a gravy train simply because, and I won't keep you, simply because it's one of those things that you jump on board and go, I can't wait for more of his music, oh I love his voice. And it's just like, it reminds me of when we used to have Sunday lunch: potatoes, the Yorkshire pudding, the gravy, and we used to mix it as children and eat, and then we had two big sausages, and my father always had the steak, and my mother would always have chicken. And on a Sunday, that particular lunch, it just reminds me of the gravy all over, that you're tasting and savouring the moment. Because Sunday lunches years ago weren't about telephones, about sitting around the table and having chats and listening to the music in the background. And if Jonathan Antoine had been about, my mother would have put him on every Sunday for sure, God rest her. But we get back to what Les Miserables is. Now, Les Miserables is a French historical novel by Victor Hugo, first published in 1862, that is considered one of the greatest novels of the 19th century. In the English-speaking world, the novel is usually referred to by its origin, French title. However, several alternatives have been used, including The Miserables, the wretched, the miserable ones, the poor ones, the wretched poor, the victims, and the dispossessed. Now, beginning in 1815 and culminating in the 1832 June Rebellion in Paris, the novel follows the lives and interactions of several characters, particularly the struggles of ex-convict Jean Valjean and his experience of redemption. Examining the nature of law and grace, the novel elaborates upon the history of France, the architecture and urban design of Paris, politics, moral philosophy, and anti-monarchism, justice, religion, and the types of nature of romantic and familial love. Les Miserables has been popularized through numerous adaptations for film, television, and the stage, including a musical. And I worked in Bord Gáis Theatre here in Dublin, and I'm telling you, way in advance of Les Miserables, I think it's around this, then the COVID hit. I'm trying to work out when it would have been. Whenever it comes to the theatre, tickets are sold out within hours. Just in case you're from Dublin and Ireland and you want to go and see it, book your tickets the minute they come online, and pay for whatever seat you can, because the closer you are to the stage, the more atmospheric it is and you'll enjoy it. Now let's go back to Jonathan. I have the lyrics in front of me. Jonathan is going to sing in the comfort of his own home, in the rawest state imaginable, empty chairs at empty tables, and I'll give you a very short synopsis. Again, I might repeat certain words. Les Miserables has been entertaining thousands of people around the world, I'm sorry, millions at this stage, since its premiere in Paris in 1980, with a hit soundtrack of memorable songs such as today's song, which Jonathan will sing, Empty Chairs at Empty Tables. It's one of the more reflective works from the musical. As Marius returns to the cafe alone, he's one of the main of the several characters. The solo survivor following the battle, other than Jean Valjean, he regrets and reminisces over the loss of his friends in this moving work that, like many other titles from the musical, works extremely well for brass bands. A great addition to any concert program and a sure hit with audiences across the globe. This ought to be proof of how, when Simon Cowell leaned over and went, "This ought to be fun," when Charlotte and Jonathan first appeared in front of them for the auditions, He ate his words when Jonathan opened his mouth and began to sing with Charlotte. We all remember that. But Simon has more than promoted and made up for him, and spread the wings for Jonathan, and separated, I think justifiably so, Charlotte and Jonathan, to allow Jonathan to shine. Because when you can sing, let's take this seriously now, when you can sing it in your own living room, which you're going to see, that's why he's dressed the way he is, looking as innocent and happy as always, you are going to hear the Philharmonic Orchestra in the background, but you're going to hear Jonathan in his true raw state, which is singing with no gimmicks, no electronical gadgets, nothing. Come back after. You're going to enjoy this. I'm going to give you my interpretation of the lyrics straight after, knowing the premise of Les Miserables. I've seen it myself. I absolutely beg everybody to go and see it. It's always around Christmas time here in Dublin. And watch out for Bord Gáis in theatre in Dublin in case they do it again very soon. But anyway, back to Jonathan. Let's hear him in his living room. Let's just enjoy and savour his voice, the liquid gold vocal prowess of a superstar that's on the crux of being called that by everybody now. He's worked his way up. He's on the crux because, for what it's worth, through the grapevine, he's coming out with a new album. All the songs have been written by one of the greatest songwriters in the world. I've attached the link to the description in this video for you. Check it out and you'll find out a lot more. Aren't I awful good to all of you Jonathan fans? I hope that's worth a like, a comment and a subscribe to my channel. He's on my channel at least 7 times at this stage. Take it away, Jonathan.
I'm Jonathan Antoine, and my favourite thing about these living room concerts is that I can wear shorts while I do them. Let's go. There's a grief that can't be spoken. There's a pain goes on and on. Empty chairs at empty tables. Now my friends are dead and gone. Here they talked of revolution. Here it was they lit the flame. Here they sang about tomorrow, and tomorrow never came. From the table in the corner, they could see a world reborn, and they rose with voices ringing. I can hear them now, the very words that they had sung became the last communion on the lonely barricade at dawn. my friends, forgive me, that I live and you are gone. There's a grief that can't be spoken, there's a pain goes on and on. The phantom faces at the window, the phantom shadows on the floor, empty chairs at empty tables, where my friends will meet no more. Oh, my friends, don't ask me what your sacrifice was for. Empty chairs at empty tables, where my friends will meet no
Oh my God, do I say this often about this young man? Absolute. Now, I look so white. I've just realised how white I am. Thank God I'm wearing brown. But you wouldn't see me if I was wearing white. But let's get back on to his voice. I have to take... If I was wearing a hat, and I think I have a hat here that I do wear in wintertime, I would take my hat off to you. And I would applaud, but I believe when I clap, it's very loud on my microphone. It picks up everything. Even at the beginning of this video, my dog is, he sleeps next to me. So it's one of those moments you take your hat off. If I had a silver plateau, I'd hand it to you, and I'd say, keep that. It's got your name written on it, and it's just something. I can only think of a silver plateau, you know, when it comes to hearing vocals like that. It's like one of those moments in life that you pass, and on the description, I would say in the silver plateau, the world's best tenor singer. Now, I'd never say ever, because he is up there with one of the greatest. And the video is about Jonathan, so I won't mention anybody else today in the video. Let's keep it pure. Jonathan, I want to clap. I want to stand up and applaud you for that. I have heard many versions of that. I became obsessed with Les Miserables after seeing it. And I can only say that truly was, and I'm going to say it, the best version I've heard. Congratulations. I'm actually moved. I always get moved when I hear your voice, Jonathan, always. But we have to go straight to the lyrics because I don't want to keep people after a long introduction. It begins, there's a grief that can't be spoken. There's a pain goes on and on. Empty chairs at empty tables. Now my friends are dead and gone. So you can imagine up on stage, we have the situation, and I have to keep flicking my notes to go back. We have Marius, who returns, remember, to the coffee shop. The cafe, not the coffee shop. The cafe alone. The only sole survivor following the battle, other than Jean Valjean, and that's his name, Jean Valjean. And he regrets and reminisces over the loss of his friends. And you can tell that in the opening line here, because he's overcome with grief. The war has slaughtered everybody around him. He doesn't quite understand why he's the sole survivor. And he slumps at the table. And when he's grieving, it's only then does his surroundings hit him. Because the laughs and the joys of wars and war talk and with being with friends, and it's a terrible equation to make, but I would say think of your night out in a crowded pub with friends and family and meeting them, and then you go back to the same place the following week. There's been an awful situation that occurred, and you go back and there's nobody there. Just imagine that for a moment. It would be the worst kind of situation. And verse 2 says, here they talked about revolution. Here it was where they lit the flame. And lit the flame, in for me, would be, this is when they talked of the next battle, the next victory. And they'd all be around, and they'd all... Because egotism is a great thing if you've won a war. And they'd sit there and talk and plan the next one. And here they sang about tomorrow, and tomorrow never came. So therefore there's a juxtaposition in this second verse between this was the place that all that talk, but look at it today. There'll be no more tomorrows. I'm on my own. Awful. It continues in verse 3, from the table in the corner that they could see a world reborn. And they rose with voices ringing, and I can hear them now. You do in a reflective moment. We all hear voices. I don't know anybody that doesn't, on their own, hear the voice within themselves or their memories when they're reflecting of loved ones, of treasured ones, of friends that have gone before them. But if you're fresh from a war where you've seen them slaughtered, and then when you look around the field and you realize you're the only one that survived, can you imagine that situation just for a single moment, looking around at hundreds of dead bodies, not knowing where your friends are, and looking through for something, but coming back to the place that things were planned, a place of remembrance, a place that's of importance, that days before the battle, or weeks before, or months before, depending on the battle and the length, they were there singing and remembering. Of course your mind would be alive with the ringing, and I can hear them now. And it continues in verse 4. The very words that they sung became their last communion on this holy barricade at dawn. Think about the communion, the embodiment of Christ. Think about, even if they weren't religious, it would be, and the French were really anti-monarchists. You only have to think of the French Revolution. But you go back into this song and they talk about communion. We all say a silent prayer to God when we're at our most vulnerable, most nervous, most wanting, and most neediest time for help. We all do. They go in brave with their uniforms into battle, but beneath it all, we're all just vulnerable human beings that pump the same blood, the same colour blood around our bodies, regardless of any religion, skin, creed or colour or belief. So it talks in verse 5, oh my friends, forgive me, that I live and you are gone. There's a grief that can't be spoken. There's a pain that goes on and on. So now it's like having the sword in his heart to bear. That grief is cutting deep as he keeps looking round the empty room of empty chairs, of empty tables, with empty table. An empty room full of empty chairs with empty tables. And then it continues, verse 6, phantom faces at the window, phantom shadows on the floor, empty chairs at empty tables where my friends will meet no more. But he's still in shock. He's still looking around. Oh, I see somebody. Oh, I don't. And the grief and the sound of war in his head and screaming and of death, and the smell of blood and stench bodies around him, and the continuous physical demands of a war that would bring upon a person to return on his own. He's nobody to share it with. Must have been incredible. So it finishes, oh my friends, don't ask me what your sacrifice was for, because empty chairs and empty tables, where my friends will sing no more. So he doesn't want to be surrounded by people going, I'm glad you survived it. Oh my God, you're here. And the embrace. He doesn't want it now. He doesn't know how to move, how to breathe, how to think, how to function, how to move to the next step. So the last thing he wants is people to ask, don't ask me what your sacrifice was for, but my sacrifice going into battle has left me with nothing, even if I did survive. It's left me with nothing. And how Marius gets to the next step would be spoiling Les Miserables for you, so I'll leave it at that. I'm going to leave it because it was a long introduction. I'm going to say I hope you enjoyed the bit of bio I gave you, but most of all, Jonathan, congratulations again. And my hat is permanently taken off to you. I bow. Well done. Thanks for listening. Comment, please, and subscribe if you haven't. Oh, I shouldn't clap because somebody said, oh, it goes through my ears. I get so many comments saying about that. So now I'm like, but Jonathan, this is for you. Silver platter with your name, the greatest tenor. Blah, blah. It's all for you, Jonathan. And I'll continue to react to another one. Take care for now. Bye-bye now.